Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining. My name is Jackson Alatesh, and today we're going to be taking a look at mining in Elite Dangerous. So the first thing that you're going to want to do if you're going to go mine is you want to outfit your ship correctly. Let's take a look at the outfitting here and which ship I'm messing around in. Now in this case, as you can see, I'm in a keelback. Reason being is because the keelback is a fairly low-cost ship. It allows me to mess with other things such as the ship-launched fighters, and it does reasonably terribly as a mining vehicle, but once again it is fairly inexpensive. So the first thing you're going to need are some mining lasers. In this case, I went a little far overboard with them just because they were available, they're not terribly expensive, etc. Realistically, a couple of small ones should probably do you just fine. Yeah, personal preference. Anywho, the next thing you're going to need to do is make sure that you have a decent power plant. The reason being is because you're going to be really hitting your capacitor with these. In an ideal world, you would have a balance between your power plant, your power distributor, and the number of mining lasers you have to run them more or less continually while you're sitting out on a belt. Then the next thing you're going to need is some cargo space, obviously, as well as some limpet controllers. Now you can see here that I have two of them. I have a collector limpet controller, and then I have, here's that guy, and then I have the prospector limpet controller. These guys are fairly important. The prospector limpet controller, however, is optional. You don't fully have to have him. I suppose technically also is the collector limpet controller, but you'd have to be a particularly nasty form of masochist to want to go and scoop up every fragment you bust off of an asteroid using your cargo scoop. It just wouldn't work out. Required piece of equipment moving forward is the refinery. So the refineries differ in the number of slots that they have available in them. So, or bins as they're called. So with this guy we have a bin count of 5. Works out fairly nicely. Realistically, some people state that you can get away with as few as 3 bins. Other folks say, you know, the more the merrier. In this case, 5 has done me just fine. So really that's all you particularly need. Collector limpet controller, a refinery, a mining laser, and some cargo space. Technically, you'll probably jam this onto, I don't know, some kind of very small and insignificant ship, and then just go, mine until you decide that you need a bigger ship. So one thing that you must do before you go is go into advanced maintenance and then go into restock. The reason being is because the limpet controller can only control limpets that you have. As invariably will happen, the first time you try this, you'll end up out on the belt. You'll be like, wow, why is my limpet doodad not working? Reason being is because your limpet controller has no limpets to control. So in this case, I have 10 limpets sitting in my cargo. That should be plenty sufficient for this demonstration and probably well beyond that. So now that you have all the required materials, the next thing you want to do is select yourself a place to go. So we're going to take a look at the system map here, and we're just simply going to find the nearest gas giant, which happens to be 553.89 light seconds away. We'll just go ahead and select him, and now we'll take off and start heading his direction. There are a lot of folks out there that believe mining is just a complete boring waste of time, and those folks could very well be correct. But then again, depending on what you like to do in Elite Dangerous, it can also be just another thing to do. That's the place that mining holds with me. Whenever there's nothing else that catches my fancy, but I'd just like to sit around in the galaxy for a little while, I go out mining. So it's not the most fun thing, it's not the most profitable thing, but it is fairly enjoyable. There are some key differences between Elite Dangerous and other games, such as take EVE Online, for example. And this actually goes into the concept of having bins. It does make it a somewhat unique experience as far as mining is concerned. Actually, just as far as, I don't know, space game mining stuff in general is concerned. Alrighty, we're disrupted, but it doesn't seem to be slowing us down. Anyhow, the biggest difference is in most mining games, most mining mini-games or mining activities in various space simulators that you manage to find, you end up getting whole units of a mineral right off the bat. In Elite Dangerous, that is not the case. So if you look over under your inventory tab with the refinery equipped, you can see the number of bins that you have, as well as the hopper. So these will all come into play just as soon as we make it about, 550 light seconds away. And to save the incredible boredom of having to watch somebody else go trekking across the system instead of doing it yourself, I will go ahead and jump forward in time. And just like that, here we are hanging nicely off the rings of the gas giant in front of us. So at some point in the video, you may be thinking, well, Jack, usually you show us what's going on with the system map and the compositions of stuff and where to look for things. And that would be the case if I had an advanced discovery scanner sitting around. So in the case of this system, the system is out on the fringes of space, Ross 93, just a little dinky spot in the middle of nowhere. Found out when I was traveling around, and since, I'm out here, I figured, well, might as well ship the keel back out via the whole ship transfer thing and then make a video on mining, because why not? So what this has pointed out to me is that it's important to have scanned your planets whilst having a surface scanner, detailed surface scanner around. Yeah, the reason being is because at this point I could not tell you the composition of the rings. I can tell you graphically speaking, though, the dirty brown one in the middle is going to be a metal ring of some sort. The lighter one out around the outside is going to be an ice ring of some sort. Generally, when you're going mining, you're going to want to find yourself some metal. So looking around out here, we can see that there are resource extraction sites. We have a regular, a low, and a high. So we don't have any haz-reses out there, but then again, that doesn't so much matter. So when looking at all of these, when looking at these, you can either select to go to a resource extraction site, or you can just go to a random spot on the belt where you will be even less molested than you would be in a low resource extraction site. It doesn't make a tremendous amount of difference as to what exactly, as to the minerals and the materials you get, at least from what I've read and what I've seen. There may be something in there where, yes, it does, but in this case, I have yet to see it. So what I typically do is I will just simply go and fly at the rings, all nice and quick like here, keep the throttle of the blue, and just plunge on down into the rings until I get more or less bounced out. So this gives me a nice open area where there's just simply nobody around. Now, if you happen to be flying something that has a vehicle hangar in it, you have a fighter with you, and a crewmate, that could be fairly handy for just diving in on the high reses or what have you. So we'll come screaming in here at an amazing clip and go for an emergency stop. So frequently it's a good way to stop. I mean, yeah, you lose 1% hull, but who cares? Afterburner and this thing just sounds a little bit ridiculous. So the first step is to drop down in and to get down into the asteroids themselves. And from there we can start doing some other cool things with the asteroids. And if you'll notice, since we're not at a resource extraction site, the scope is completely clear. It doesn't mean that nobody will show up, it just means there's less of a likelihood of somebody showing up with hostile intent or just one of those general space jerks. Alright, and the FSD is now cooled down. And we can see that somebody's popped up on the scanner, but they're still out of range. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and pop the extend the hard points. Reason being is very shortly here we're going to be blasting away furtively at an asteroid in the hopes that it will give us something interesting. Well, it looks like there's a bunch of folks that have spawned in here. Who knows, maybe the fact that I'm close to the high res is doing something funky. Anyhow, let's select this warty looking asteroid in front of us. Now, one thing to note when you approach an asteroid is you're going to want to be somewhere where the asteroid is not going to hit you as it rotates. That's fairly important because if an asteroid hits you, then, they're large chunks of rock. Hitting you is not generally going to be a fun thing for you. The asteroid, on the other hand, could probably care a little bit less. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll maneuver around here until we get on the end of it. Reason being is that way we don't end up with as much problems with our limpets as they're out flying around. So limpets are dumb little critters. And the cool thing about dumb little critters is they generally get hit by big objects with some kind of frequency. We don't really want that. So the idea is to be shooting at the general face where the axis of rotation is, or thereabouts. I mean, it's not that picky and not that pesky, but I don't really like to lose limpets. I'd rather lose them because I left them behind as opposed to losing them just because. And this looks like an exciting time for someone. Wonder who's doing the shooting here. An Imperial courier. Okay, well, any which way, they're over there doing their own thing, so we're going to go ahead and target nothing again, and we're going to launch a Prospector Limpet. This Prospector Limpet will take off. As he goes out, we'll go ahead and we'll target him. And then he will thud down on the asteroid. So as we can see here in the bottom left-hand corner, we have ourselves a couple of things. We got some bauxite. We got some bauxite, some coltan. Mineral content of this guy is low, and he's full. All right. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and start reaping the negligible bounty that this thing has to offer. So the first thing we're going to do is just move all of our pips over to weapons, and then we'll just blast some chunks off of there while we get our collector limpets out and going. So the collector limpets are great, provided that you have nothing of consequence or nothing that they can collect targeted. What they will do is they will just simply go after whatever is the nearest thing that they can grab. This includes cargo containers, pretty much any manner of everything that's available. And an important thing to do is to have your cargo scoop open, because that's how they enter and exit your ship. Yeah, somebody's having a bad day over there. Hopefully their bad day stays over there and doesn't come back this way. Now with the limpet drone controllers, you'll note that the larger ones are capable of operating more limpet drones at once. Generally, the rule of thumb that you want to follow for anything hardcore mining wise is 2 limpet drones per laser. So in this case, this was just kind of thrown together. This is by no means a serious, crazy, hardcore mining vessel. So otherwise, I would need a lot more limpets, a lot less lasers, and probably a great deal more cargo space. So what you do is you sit here and you just kind of blast away at the asteroid. Now, while your limpet drones are collecting stuff, you look over at the refinery, you can see that two of those bins are starting to fill, one with bauxite, the other with coltan. When they hit 100%, well, that's cool. When they hit 100%, what they'll do from there is they will convert it over into a chunk of refined material and then drop that in the cargo hold so that you can haul it back to turn it in for a mining quest if you may be on one, or mining mission if you may be on one, or if you wish to sell it off to the market. So in this case, I'm just going to keep blasting away until I get a ton or so, and then we'll head back to the station and take a look at that. Be right back. Alright, so now the asteroid that we're working on has been fully depleted. The limpets are not doing anything constructive, they're just kind of hanging out. One thing that's important to note is that if you should decide that you want to go take on another asteroid and reap the bounty that it may have available, your collector limpets will trail along behind you. That prospector limpet, though, unfortunately, he's just junk. So that happens in 2 ways. The first one is when you get a certain distance away, or when you go into super cruise to get out of the system, he kind of goes bang, and then that's more or less the end of him. So the other thing is when you launch another collector, such as the prospector that I'm getting ready to launch at this guy, the second he launches, the old one will say failed, just like that, and then the new one will get launched. And then he will go ahead and he will stick. And we can see that this one contains some stuff that was not available in the other one. So should we want to mine this guy, we would just simply drive up on it. We would continue blasting away with our mining lasers. The limpets are going to automatically do their own thing. So they go screaming out to grab all the fragments that I'm blasting off and bring them back to the ship so that they can be refined. Now, with these guys having material content of low and medium, the idea of you getting several tons of ore out of one of these is really not going to be a thing. So, thus far, I have gotten 1 ton of bauxite as a result of this trip, which is really not all that great. As you can see, we're 80% of the way towards the second one. I'll get some coltan, some gallite, some lepidite, and some rutile. Any which way, this pretty much covers the concepts of mining. So as long as you can do this and have a reasonable ship to do it with, you too can become a mining champion in Elite Dangerous. So from here, if you decide that you want to go home, all you just simply do is pack your things and leave. So let's say that I'm done. Alright, I don't really care about the rest of it. Let's just get out of here, because they're serving cold beer back at the bar aboard the station. So the idea from there is you just simply drive on out of the place, get out of Masslock, and punch yourself up into Super Cruise and head for wherever your current home is. In this case, Virtus Dock, so we'll go ahead, we'll lock the destination. Once we're out of Masslock here, we will go ahead and engage. And that's about all there is to mining. It's a very, very simple concept. There's really not much in the way of arcane, thus and such going along with it. There's the prospector going bang as I got a far enough distance away from him. The limpets that we're towing along behind us, the collector limpets we're towing along behind us, the second we go to Super Cruise, those suckers will also go bang and cease to exist. Also, the proximity lights will stop flashing like crazy at me. I think that's one thing that you continually get with mining is the fact that there's a friggin' disco in your cockpit with the limpets close. So they freak out every now and again. But now that we're in Super Cruise, it really doesn't matter. Anyhow, if I've missed anything specific, or if you have any questions about the process of mining or fitment or anything at all, please feel free to go ahead and comment in the video's response section or down in the comment section, and I'll get back to you on it. If I've missed anything important, please let me know, and I will do my best to include another video, either just reshoot this video itself. Once again, my name has been Jack Altesh. Thank you very much for joining, and if you have any further ideas on videos that you'd like to see on the channel here, please by all means let me know, and I will get right to work on them. Thanks for watching, and fly safe.